Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. We're going to take a quick look here at Paribus, which is what PBX. I'm very new to this. Honestly, it was just brought to my attention from one of my patrons, Ainsley. Thank you very much for requesting that I cover this. And if you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor by any means. I've just been trading for over 15 years, seen a thing or two in my day, and my goal is to help you become more of an effective trader. That's half the reason why I created a trading community signal group. Link in the description below for that. I actually send out signals for every single trade that I take, and you can follow it with one-click follow through a trading bot, Cornix, through Telegram. So pretty awesome situation. Really stoked about that. And moving forward, let's just go ahead and take a look at the charts. So PBX, you can tell it's definitely ramping up. I believe this is the ICO date, if I'm not mistaken, because when I looked, I couldn't find much else besides Uniswap, and I didn't really look at that chart either. So why don't we just go ahead and stick with KuCoin and use that moving forward. So big picture here. Obviously, it's made some moves, right? It started with this ICO date here on the 16th, retraced, consolidated. Now it's back on the ramp. So all good things there in that sense. Now we're going to take a look at some of the traditional indicators, kind of see what we can find out. We're above 50, but below 70 on the RSI. That's actually perfect. It means we got more gas left in the tank. If it does leg up significantly, we could see it break above 70, which is commonly a resistance level on the one-day chart. So pay attention to that. 30, 50, 70 on the RSI on the one day, typically all support and resistance levels. But right now we're between 50 and 70, which is fantastic. We like to see that. Moving on to the 4-hour chart, let's quickly identify we are above both moving averages, fantastic. Also above 50 on the RSI as well, which is equally as important because the 4-hour and the one-day charts RSI are probably the most effective things you can look at as far as timeframes are concerned. Below that time frame, not as relevant. It moves a little too quick to the price action, but that is a really good sign here. Keep in mind, we do have a retracement here and obviously a bearish divergence where we can see the price kind of retracing effectively, but that could reach its peak and maybe turn back around here soon. Hard to say just yet with what we looked at, but all in all, that's kind of where we're at. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the 1-hour chart and just kind of see where we're at on the Ichimoku cloud. We're now below the cloud. So typically I wouldn't recommend taking an entry position below the cloud. That's typically kind of wouldn't say it's a negative sign, but it's just more of a bearish sign. And that kind of correlates with the other charts that we just saw as well, right? We got the 4-hour MACD bearish divergence. That is effectively kind of showing through here as well, right? So again, you could get lucky and buy the dip right now, but I don't think you should do that. It's recommended to wait when you see something like that along those lines on the 1-hour chart. So if you're new to the channel, just know when the price is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. Below, it's considered a sell signal. So I know hindsight's 20/20, but if you take a look at this here, that would have been an awesome entry point. That would have netted you approximately 67% from bottom to top. Again, easier said than done. You don't just jump in because you see that. That's not the way that it works. But the odds are in your favor when you do that, right? Preferably, you want to find the MACD convergence in the 4-hour chart concurrent with that. That's like the icing on the cake. So if all goes well here in just say a day or two, the price kind of continues on, breaks above the cloud because the cloud's going to eventually break down because this is breaking down as well. And then it'll effectively be a point in which the momentum could be shifting from bearish to bullish, and it could continue to progress upwards. One thing I like about this here so far, if you look at the big picture, is it has a nice healthy pattern, right? So we got this little ramp up, the retrace, that's normal, but it's still kind of continuously making these patterns, right? So we can expect the price to either retrace a little bit lower. We'll look at Fibonacci retracement, kind of see what else is left, so to speak. But simply put, I think we have a good chance to be able to see another leg up. I think that's very likely. Just based on its current projection and it being kind of I guess you could say a fairly newer coin, it's still discovering itself. It pretty much broke its all-time high, if you want to consider that. So we can see right here, even though I don't love using the ICO date as an all-time high, that still factors in, right? And we can see it just tested, rejected there, and broke through. And now that's potential and likely support here moving forward at about 2.9 cents. Can we round up and say 3? We could say 3 cents. Yeah, 2.9, 3 cents, right in that range. So let's go ahead and turn off some of these indicators, take a quick look at what, let's go ahead and do Fibonacci and kind of see where we're at here. So Fibonacci retracement, there we go. All right, so taking a quick look here, we can kind of see the price action is pretty darn close there to that fib. And what we want to do is go and mark the kind of the dominant ones, right? So in my experience, I've noticed that 236, Fibonacci line 236 is a pretty strong support level. There's also, of course, 786, which is another common resistance. And then, of course, we've got our current support right there in the middle for the previous all-time high. So generally speaking, we should expect to see the price action kind of stick within this range here. In fact, why don't we go ahead and pull this back up and let's see what our big potential is, because that's ultimately why we're here, right? Because if this were to leg up again, just say for example, it's going to work within its resistance levels. Because if you were to kind of just carbon copy this back here, you would see the same exact support and resistance levels moving into this section that just moved up, right? So in other words, this right here is the same as this right here in a lot of ways based on Fibonacci retracement. Therefore, if we look at the moving forward here section right now, in other words, best case scenario, I'd say by month end, and we're talking end of November, would be right around 7 cents. So I think 7 is probable. It is likely, as long as this continues to have this healthy pattern that it's having right now, right? So what I'd recommend perhaps considering doing is buying closer to support, right around 3 cents, perhaps even considering adding to your position now around 3.2, because it certainly wouldn't hurt, because there's a strong chance it should continue to progress upwards again. This just has a bunch of healthy signs right now. Granted, we do have bearish divergence in the big picture, so keep that in mind as well. It could still continue to retrace. That's why I would maybe recommend setting an alert and kind of see where it goes from there. Like for me, for example, I would set an alert with what, maybe 0.03, just to make sure that we have a notification there. Maybe just I'll even move that up a little bit right to that same Fibonacci line. What is that? 0.0306. That way I get an alert if the price comes down. I can kind of reevaluate and see if it's worth adding to my position, or essentially just, taking a position for a long, to the upside. This could be a very good scenario here for my traders in my patron community too. Of course, that's the reason why I'm covering it, right, Ainsley? It's pretty cool the way that works, right? Regardless, big picture, just to summarize, we're looking at about 7 cents by month end, I would think would be a better case scenario. If this continues to just kind of, progress and keep doing what it's doing, it'll probably come up and, maybe test the resistance of, what is that, about 4.8 cents. And it could just continue on one of these kind of patterns, right? I've seen it happen a lot. Like BNB did that for like almost 3 weeks straight, went from $250 all the way up to about $650, and it was like a sleeper. Nobody knew it because it was only hitting 10 to 15% gains every day. It was really awesome. Anyways, it's awesome when you can identify it, but if you miss out, it's kind of frustrating. Suffice to say, hopefully you don't miss out here, but I do feel overall bullish on Paribus at this moment. Just keep in mind, it needs a little bit more time to consolidate and likely retrace. Let's wait for those, the candlesticks to effectively close and see what's going on. And speaking of closing too, let's take a quick look at the one-day chart. If all goes well, the one-day chart would close a little bit lower here, and we can work that as a potential support level. In other words, 3 cents is hopefully going to be a strong support. We'll see what happens when the price gets closer. If it doesn't come down that low, wait a little while, of course. I mean, it could ramp back up. It's hard to say specifically, but I would say based on what we've seen so far here, there's a strong chance we have a little bit more continuation to the downside. In fact, let's see if TD sequential tells us. We're at a 6 right now. We could have, 12 more hours of bearish divergence. Okay, but just pay attention to the Ichimoku cloud. If the price breaks above the cloud on the 1 hour chart, that's good. And also notify yourself, set an indicator so you can kind of be alerted if the price were to come back down to a good entry point for you. Very last thing is look at the 4 hour chart and see when will this reverse, right? When is that 12 going to intersect with the 26 in an upward fashion, right? We need to have that bullish convergence essentially for the price to kind of come back. And it should look something like this, right? The 12 intersects with the 26 in upward fashion. I don't think we're going to see that right away. It'll take a few days to get there, right? There's a strong chance of that. But bottom line, we have at least 12 to 24 hours worth left of bearish divergence before it reverses to the upside. All right, so if you found benefit, great. Thank you so much for joining me here and watching to the end of the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my Patreon community where we can all learn and grow together. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next one. Take care.